Hi, parents. Welcome to the Parent Guide, helping your teen overcome pornography addiction. I'm your host, Matt Bulkley, a psychotherapist whose clinical practice focuses on helping families navigate tough challenges like this one. Today, we are diving into a topic that is critical but often misunderstood: the brain science behind pornography addiction, and specifically the role of the dopamine system. If you're a parent, you might be feeling discouraged, overwhelmed, frustrated, or even helpless right now. And maybe you've discovered that your teen is struggling with pornography and you're wondering, what is going on? How did this happen? Most importantly, how can I help as a parent? The good news is that by understanding how pornography affects your teen's brain, particularly their dopamine reward system, you can shift from feeling stuck to feeling empowered and feeling like you understand what is going on. Here's the thing: this isn't about shame or willpower, it's about science and empathy. Today, we're going to unpack how pornography hijacks the brain, the impact it has on your teen's life, and practical steps that you can take to help them to heal. So settle in, take a deep breath, and let's get started. So to understand why pornography can become so addictive, we need to start with the brain's reward system and a neurochemical referred to as dopamine. I like to call dopamine the brain's reward juice. This is a neurotransmitter that makes us feel good, motivates us, reinforces behaviors that we enjoy. So think about the last time that your teen, maybe they scored a goal in a soccer game, or they with friends laughing, or they got through a really tough homework assignment. In that process, their brain released a nice steady dose of dopamine, like a pat on the back saying, "That was great. Good job. Do it again." Now, in a healthy brain, dopamine flows in a balanced way. Rewards natural, meaningful activities like participation in sports, engaging in relationships, or developing creative hobbies. But pornography, it's a whole different story here. So it's what scientists refer to as hyper-stimulating stimulus. It's instantly accessible, offers endless variety, and delivers visuals that are designed to grab attention in ways that real life just can't match. And here's the kicker: a study in 2022 from the Archives of Sexual Behavior found that pornography triggers significantly higher dopamine levels than real life sexual experiences. And that massive dopamine surge hits the nucleus accumbens, the brain's pleasure control center, creating an intense, almost euphoric feeling. It's like giving your teen's brain a sugar rush, but on steroids. And here's the thing: it ends up kind of resetting the brain's pleasure thermostat at too high of a temperature so that other stimuli can't ever reach that level. And here's where it gets tricky: the brain is not built to handle those constant, massive dopamine spikes. It's like revving a car engine to the max over and over and over, and it wears out. So the brain, to protect itself, it starts down regulating its dopamine receptors. A 2020 study in addiction biology showed that repeated exposure to these dopamine floods, that it desensitizes the brain's reward system. So in layman's terms, in plain English, your teen's brain gets used to these huge dopamine hits and it starts needing more to feel the same level of pleasure. So they might seek out more frequent or more extreme types of pornography to chase that initial high, or to try to get back to where that pleasure thermostat in the brain has been set. And this is the addiction cycle. It's a neurological trap that's tough, almost impossible to escape without help and intervention. So this desensitization, it doesn't just affect your teens' pornography use, it impacts their entire life. So when those dopamine receptors shrink, everyday activities that used to feel rewarding, that used to be satisfying and enjoyable, things like hanging out with friends, playing a sport, listening to music, some of those types of activities start to feel flat or boring. And this is a concept or a phenomena called anhedonia, which is a hallmark symptom of depression. So you might notice that your teen could seem unmotivated, emotionally disconnected, or like they've lost their spark. Things that they once loved just don't seem the same anymore. But it doesn't stop there. Chronic pornography use, as it evolves into addiction, it messes with the prefrontal cortex of the brain. Now, this is the part of the brain that's responsible for impulse control, decision making, planning. And here's the thing, when this area is impaired, it becomes more and more difficult for your teen to say no to compulsive behaviors like pornography, even if they want to stop. So it's a vicious cycle. They use pornography to feel good, they feel guilty afterward, and then they turn back to it to escape those negative, depressed feelings. And there's more. A 2021 study in neuroscience and biobehavioral reviews found that chronic pornography use can disrupt the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. And this is the system that regulates stress hormones like depression. So you might see your teen withdrawing from family, struggling with schoolwork, or seeming more irritable or more moody than usual. And this isn't just a behavior issue, it's a brain issue. But here's the hope. You've got to remember your teen is not broken. They're not morally weak. This is really the phenomena that their brain has been hijacked by a powerful stimulus in this addictive process. But the hope, the good news is that it can heal. And so there is a phenomena that we refer to as the dopamine reset. And it's because the human brain is so incredible. It's what scientists refer to as neuroplasticity, which means that it can adapt and heal over time. And this is the key to breaking the addiction cycle is that we've got to give your teen's brain the opportunity for a dopamine reset. And this would be a period where your teen abstains from pornography completely, giving their brain a chance to recalibrate and to rebuild those dopamine receptors. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This process is not an overnight fix. Depending on how long and how intensely your teen has been using pornography, this reset could take weeks or even months. And this part of the recovery can be very challenging. And for a time, they will probably feel depressed or discouraged or unmotivated and preoccupied. Their brain is essentially relearning how to find joy in natural, healthy rewards. Think of it like rebooting a computer. It takes time, but it will work again. So, how can you as a parent help your teen through this process? You can't force them to stop or you can't magically fix their brain, but you can create an environment where you can support their recovery. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about 4 practical steps that you as a parent can take to help create the setting so that a dopamine reset can occur for your teen. So here are 4 ways that you can support your teen to create this dopamine reset. Number 1 is to encourage healthy dopamine boosting activities. Help your teen to rediscover activities that naturally release dopamine in a healthy way. This could be things like sports, participation in creative hobbies like drawing or music or volunteering in the community. For example, if your teen used to love playing basketball but hasn't touched a ball in months, encourage them to join a local team, get involved in a community league, or at the minimum, start to shoot hoops with friends, the local park. These activities might not feel exciting at first because their brain is still desensitized, but over time, they'll start to feel rewarding again. And here's a pro tip. You got to start small. Maybe it's simply a short hike together or maybe cooking together with your teen. And these small wins can build momentum and help your teen begin to rediscover joy in everyday life. Now, another pro tip here is consistency. Consistency is so key. In the beginning, your teen will likely become discouraged and want to give up on the activity because there's not any pleasure in it. And they must not give up or decide to stop because the recalibration process in the beginning, it's not rewarding, it's not enjoyable, it's not fulfilling. But in time, slowly, bit by bit, they will once again begin to find satisfaction in that activity. And here's the thing, this is where most lose this battle. They give up in the beginning because it is not immediately rewarding. And this is the problem with pornography. It provides instant gratification for very little effort. And what we're talking about here is exactly the opposite. We are talking about engaging in activity that may have very little initial gratification or satisfaction and requires extended effort. And the only way to really shift that reward, move down the continuum, is to continue to be consistent with it. So number 2 would be, as a parent, to be patient and to be compassionate. During this dopamine reset, your teen will most likely seem moody, unmotivated, and even depressed. And here's the thing, that it's normal. It's their brain adjusting to lower dopamine levels. It's not a sign that they're failing or that you're doing something wrong. You've got to be patient. You've got to avoid judgment. Instead of saying, why can't you just stop? Try something like, I know this is tough, but I'm here for you. And that shift from blame to empathy can really make a big difference. Prep yourself as a parent to expect some resistance, a lack of motivation, and recognize that getting your teen through this process will probably be trying to your own patience. Number 3, help your teen to manage technology use. Typically during this dopamine rest period, they will need accountability, as willpower alone is not enough to help them beat the urge or the impulse to seek out porn. Remember, the prefrontal cortex, that part of the brain where impulse control is housed, has been damaged or compromised. So it's like they're pushing the brake pedal, but the car isn't stopping. And this is where technology management and accountability comes in. And with your role as a parent to enforce rules surrounding their use of electronics. So, and how you do that, let's start with some just a few ideas. Use monitoring apps. Continue with using things like Covenant Eyes or Net Nanny. Covenant Eyes is great for accountability. Provides reports that can be shared with you to reinforce transparency. And Net Nanny is great for filtering, and it helps you to keep oversight into what your teen is viewing. I always recommend a tech curfew, and I actually think an 8 p.m. tech curfew is reasonable, especially in an early stage of recovery. There are some apps that can help with that. Gryphon or Custodio help to shut things down, protect sleep, and reduce triggers. And sometimes you have to even use a router or an app log to make sure that they're consistent or that adhere to that. I really like the idea of a tech-free bedroom, which would involve setting up a charging station, maybe in the kitchen or in a living area. And in some cases, it's even using a lockable box or uh, some type of system that helps you to control their tech so that they don't have technology in the bedroom. And it keeps the bedroom a safe space for rest. Sometimes you can use a non-internet device like an MP3 player if they want to listen to music, but keeping tech out of the bedroom is very important. And then, finally, in some cases, maybe just not even having a phone, or if they do have a phone, would be a Bark or a Gab phone that doesn't have internet access, and slowly over time having the teen move back into a smartphone as they demonstrate responsible behaviors. Next, step 4 for parents would be to seek professional support. So here's the thing, oftentimes, pornography addiction is tied to deeper issues like anxiety or depression or low self-esteem. And a licensed clinician, especially one trained in addiction recovery and teen issues, who uses a cognitive behavioral approach, can help your teen to navigate these challenges. They can guide them through this dopamine reset process, help teach coping strategies for cravings or urges or for emotional triggers. If you're not sure where to start, check out resources such as our outpatient services at Therapy Associates, including services like individual therapy, family therapy, our weekly recovery group for teens, and the Recovery Toolbox for Teens, which is a series of workbooks, Breaking Free Workbook, the Breaking Free Parent Guide, the 101 Tips for Quitting Porn. And together, This professional intervention, together with your teen's commitment to break the addiction, along with compliance with technology rules that you put in place for supporting the recovery, that it can work. I've seen many teens achieve this dopamine reset while remaining at home and living a normal life. And finally, here's the thing, like in some cases, the ultimate reset for dopamine and assured abstinence from pornography is going to require a more intensive intervention like our Star Guides program, which is 120 days without technology, completely unplugged, and a guaranteed porn-free period of time for the recalibration process to occur. And in some cases, attempts to create a dopamine reset becomes next to impossible at home if your teen continues to experience relapse because they're going around rules for their technology use. They're sneaking on the internet. They're stealing electronics. Maybe they're possessing secret devices for viewing pornography. And despite your efforts as a parent to provide the structure and support, they continue this pattern of secrecy, manipulation, deviousness, and they've kind of rendered you as a parent, your influence in their lives as inept or unable to help to disrupt that pattern. Well, parents, let's end on a positive message, a message of hope. Here's the bottom line. This isn't about your teen being broken or morally weak or incapable of breaking the addiction. It's about a literal neurological imbalance that can be healed with time, support, and the right strategies. And I've seen it happen many times over the years. And so by understanding the science of dopamine, the reward system, and this need for a dopamine reset, you are equipped to guide your teen with compassion and clarity. And you're not just fighting a behavior, you're helping their brain to find balance again. So you got this. You can do it, and I know that your teen can too. So before we wrap up, let me just loop back to the resources that I referred to just a few minutes ago and to help you take the next steps. So check out the Recovery Toolbox for Teens. This is a series of 3 workbooks, Breaking Free Workbook, which is really kind of the clinical guide for your teen to break free from the addiction. The Breaking Free Parent Guide, which is your guide as a parent in this process. And the 101 Tips for Quitting Porn Workbook, which is exactly what it says it is, literally 101 tips, strategies for your teen to use in their fight against pornography. And it's a very practical, easy to use, lots of ideas. You can pick up this toolbox in the bookstore. So go to the website, therapyassociates.net. In the bookstore, you'll find the Recovery Toolbox for Teens. It's the blue toolbox. The brown one it's the adult toolbox. So you want the blue toolbox in that bookstore. And if you're looking for a professional support, look at our outpatient services at Therapy Associates. We have multiple clinicians who specialize in teen pornography addiction. And we have our weekly recovery group, which can be accessed locally if you're in Southern Utah in the office. And if you're outside the area, then you can participate via teleconference. And we hold that group every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. And I'll include all these links in the show notes. And here's something I'd love for you to do. Parents, take a moment. I want you to think about one step that you can take to support your teen after listening to this episode. Maybe it's simply starting conversation with empathy. Maybe it's encouraging your teen to get involved in a new activity. Or maybe it's reaching out to a therapist and getting professional support in place. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Parent Guide, helping your teen overcome pornography addiction. If you found this helpful, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, helps us reach more parents who need this information, and continue to tune in as we'll dive into more practical tools and strategies to support your teen, so don't miss. Until then, keep showing up for your teen with compassion and hope. You're not alone in this, and together we can help them find their way back to a healthier, happier life. I'm Matt Bulkley, and I will see you next time.